for STEM outreach, if anybody is interested in volunteering, we have a couple of different opportunities coming up. STEM Club of Atlanta has a meeting every third week and is looking for May volunteers. They meet in Marietta. And Stephen Sheffield is the STEM outreach coordinator, if you guys have questions. And then there's also the Georgia ITE is doing the inaugural STEAM camp, and that's July 13th and 14th. So if you guys are interested in volunteering for Georgia ITE, that information will be in the e-blast as well. I am looking for volunteers for the International Conference on Transportation Development and the Automated People Movers Conference. ITS Georgia is sponsoring a booth. And so if you're interested in sitting at the booth during that conference at all, just reach out to myself or any of the other board members. We can have 2 people at the booth per time frame when the exhibitor area is open. And just reach out to us if you guys have any questions for that. I'm going to pass it to Madison. She's going to give us an update on the annual conference. And I'm wearing her shirt right now. She wanted me to sport her color.
Hey, y'all. All right, so updates on the conference. We have a lot going on with the conference. It's really starting to flesh out. We have a keynote speaker. It's going to be the Commissioner, Mr. Russell McMurray. He'll be keynoting. I just got back from the site visit in Augusta. Please do not be discouraged to attend this conference because you're like, oh, Augusta. This hotel is awesome, y'all. It's going to be a really good conference. It's a really cool site. There's going to be some really cool things that we have going on there. Big news is that sponsorship will open today after this meeting. So if you're wanting to sponsor, especially for one of those 3 diamond sponsorships, get on that today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to answer them, and looking forward to it.
Okay, D. Taylor, you're up for AECOM. Thank you for sponsoring. We're going to give AECOM a couple minutes, and then after that, we'll get food, and then Kate will come back up here and introduce our speakers. Sorry for the weird layout. Thanks, guys.
All right, I've got the clock running here. Madison's got me on the clock. Before I get started, a quick safety moment for our older members. Todd. We do have some transportation for you. It's not just part of the Touch a Truck event here at Gwinnett. Good morning, everybody. Holly, thank you for the introduction. D. Taylor here. I guess who's advancing? I'm advancing in age. So happy to be here this morning. Speaker for AECOM. Click. This is crucial. Is it on?
Hustle.
Very nice. All right, well, that's 2 minutes of the presentation. So AECOM's proud to support not just GDOT, but as well as our maintaining agencies. This is one of our sandboxes we're fortunate enough to get to play in as part of the Eastern Metro Region contract for SIGOPS. We also have the SIGOPS North contract. Many of those employees are here today, so feel free to reach out and coordinate with them. So AECOM's always happy to coordinate with all of our agencies as well as the private sector folks that are here today as well. So SIGOPS, we also support the GDOT Safety on Call program. I'm sure everybody's aware of in District 7. We've got the 511, the Navigator TMC contract. Tom Udell's the project manager for that. He was signed up, and as usual, he's not here. As well, the CHAMP program, which is essentially your statewide HERO program. So if you're outside the metro area, broken down, these guys will always be happy to help you. Just don't tell them that you don't work for AECOM. But I do want to flip through a couple of images here and see if any of these hit home for you, and then see if this fits your persona. First one, if you've ever taken a picture of a CCTV only to realize the moon is in the shot as well, you may be a traffic ITS geek. If you've ever stopped at a rest area in Florida because you knew it had a cool sign, you may be a traffic ITS geek. If you've ever debated stopping to salvage a Trailblazer sign for GDOT, not for yourself, you may be a traffic ITS geek. If you've ever walked around DC counting the number of METCD violations or the unique signal installations. You're kind of getting it now. 2 minutes. If you ever thought this would be a good idea, and I really do, this is an idea for the safety team. If you ever stopped to take a picture of a roadside radar unit on the Golden Gate Bridge, and your wife is standing immediately camera to the right with the beautiful picture of the Golden Gate Bridge, and I'm over there taking pictures. Anyway, you get the picture. If you ever wondered who moved all the pavement markers in your backyard, or if you have pavement markers in your backyard. If you've ever been ecstatic you were in the 75 southbound toll lanes, and admit it, everyone has, especially when you're headed south and all the Floridians are in the line next to you. If you ever wondered what an autonomous Corvette looks like, and this was in Buckhead, so there it is. If you ever wondered what a roadside unit looks like from the pole, if you've ever been on a running track on a cruise ship and spent more time taking pictures of the signs than actually doing the exercises or running or whatever you do on an exercise track, these I about got ran over 3 times. But finally, if you've ever wondered what a 3M signal in Japan looks like, pretty sweet. then we may need to talk. Thank you. I appreciate your time. That was 427, by the way. Giddy up.
Oh, there we go. Thanks everyone for coming to this meeting. It's going to go ahead and introduce our speakers. I know some of you are still getting food. Feel free to keep eating. Going ahead, and we're going to we've got some people from Johns Creek to talk about their ITS Network Enhancement project. So this was one of their highlight project awards. So we have 2 speakers, so we're just going to introduce them. So Bill Gilchrist is a professional engineer with more than 25 years of traffic engineering experience in the public and private sectors. Currently, Bill works for Jacobs Engineering as the senior traffic engineer in the Public Works Department at the City of Johns Creek. Bill holds a Bachelor of Science and Master's degree in Civil Engineering from Oregon State University. Bill has a wife and 2 dogs at home. He also has 2 adult kids who both live in Washington State. Bill loves to go on vacations and spend time somewhere different every year in the U.S. with his wife, kids, 3 brothers, and their whole families. Kim Williams is a traffic engineer for Jacobs who specializes in traffic impact and analysis, planning, transportation planning, traffic calming, and design for traffic signals and signing and striping. Throughout her 16-year career, Kim has produced consistent results for a variety of clients and constituents in the field of traffic and transportation. In her current role, Kim manages the traffic team for the City of Johns Creek. Kim received her BS in Civil Engineering from North Carolina A&T State University and Master's in Community Planning from Auburn University. She's a proud mama of 2 American Terriers and 2 baby turtles. And with that, let's welcome Johns Creek.
Thank you so much. Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today and just having us come to present about our small project of significance for ITS network enhancements. Uh-oh. Am I not doing it right? Oh, okay. That might help. That's okay. So let's talk a little bit about the city. Johns Creek is located in the northeastern part of Fulton County. It was established in 2006, has a population of about 82,000 citizens, covers about 34 square miles, and as of last year, on our busiest corridor, State Route 141, Medlock Bridge Road, we had about 50,000 vehicles per day. So our team, we are led by Chris Haggard, our Public Works Director, Mohammed Raouf, our Transportation Manager. I'm the Traffic Services Manager. I have Bill Gilchrist, our senior traffic engineer. We have 2 traffic superintendents, Andre Williams and Rudy Samaniego. And our newest addition is Rashawn Randall, our network engineer. And you all may have seen Rashawn helping out behind the scenes for a couple of your meetings. So our traffic services group, traffic is so vital and very important for our citizens and our council in the city. So as a traffic group, we are responsible for managing the operations and construction for the city's traffic system. We manage 45 school beacons, 81 traffic signals. In our traffic control center, we monitor weekdays during the peak periods, and our fiber, we have about 53 miles of fiber throughout the city. So a little bit of timeline on specifically our traffic group in ITS. Our original TCC was established in 2011 by a grant. We've had several updates over the years, growing from 1 monitoring station with 3 monitors to now we have 18 monitors with 3 stations, and it's pretty cool. You guys should come to our TCC sometimes. In 2018, we hired Bill as our signal timing engineer to optimize traffic flow. And then back in 2021, we began with several ITS updates. Bill will talk to you a lot more in detail about those, but they include updating all of our switches to Cisco, closing in on some of our fiber gaps. Some very smart people years ago with various construction projects decided to install conduit in places so that in the future we could install our fiber in those empty conduits. So the future is now. We've been taking advantage of that. And also in 2021, we began our Connected Vehicles Partnership with GDOT. So a little bit about our system concerns. So we've run into a variety of incidents over the years that has knocked down our system in terms of communications. We've had, in many of these pictures, you guys are probably familiar with those types. Damaged conduit, contractor gets out there, cut your fiber, mangle up your conduit, that kind of thing. We've had locations where fiber is just completely inaccessible, whether it was missing tracer wire or blocked or crushed conduit or anything like that. And then more recently, that top picture, that is our knockdown cabinet at our busiest intersection in the city, Medlock Bridge Road and State Bridge Road. So these incidents unfortunately brought a higher awareness to some of the shortfalls and just issues that we would run into the system, specifically with having a flat daisy chain network. And it also further justified the need for additional funding. We were able to secure over $1 million in T-SPLOST 2 funding specifically for ITS updates. And last year, we also entered into a fiber maintenance contract so that we could have some of these issues addressed more quickly. So now Bill is going to talk to you guys a little bit more about our project.
Thanks for having me here. Appreciate it. So this is what our network used to look like before we did our upgrades. Is there a pointer on here? No? Well, you can see, if you look closely, you can see that it's a flat network. There's really no redundancy, and we have a few really long networks. So we would have these situations where our fiber would just get hit in one part and it would take out half the city, our switches, and that we really wanted to improve that so we don't have that happen anymore. So redundancy was a big part of our focus here. So some of the goals that we have wanted adequate bandwidth so we can have enough speed and be able to support all of our devices. We want our network to be available, high availability, reliability, high reliability. We want it to be scalable so we can continue to grow it. If as the needs come in, we can grow it. And we also wanted to have a secure network. So to do that, like Kim was saying, we upgraded all of our switches to Cisco switches. And we also needed to organize inside of the cable, there are several tubes, different tubes that contain the fibers, and the fibers were being used kind of sporadically in the cable, and so we just organized that to a few different tubes. We also, the city IT, they also use our fiber, so we assign them the orange tube, so they have that whole tube to themselves. We also needed to resplice do a lot of resplicing so we could segment the network into smaller networks. And we also re-IP'd everything. And then we have communication cabinets that we placed strategically. I'll talk a little bit more about those. We wanted to make sure that we don't have any collapsed loops, which is where you have your redundancy in the cable. So we were almost able to get 100% of it with no collapsed loops. And then we also, we built a 3-tiered network, so we were able to implement some dynamic routing protocol. That's the EIGRP. And then between the cabinets where we have our layer 2 stuff, we needed to have first hop redundancy protocol. That's FHRP. With Cisco, since we have all Cisco, we're able to use their proprietary FHRP, which is HSRP, and that's what we're going to go with. And of course, implementing security from the cabinets all the way, to the ports and everything. So these are some of the equipment that we have. The core that's in our server room, that's our actual installation, and there's a cleaner shot of the Cisco 9500. Then we have our distribution switches, which are in those communication cabinets that I mentioned. Again, that's an actual installation, and a cleaner shot of the switch. And down at the access layer where we have our devices inside of the signal cabinets, we're using the IE 2000 switches. And so that's what that is. And here's a picture of one of the cabinets that I was mentioning. It's got splice trays and then termination panels in it. And that makes it really nice, so we don't have to, every time we change something, we don't have to resplice things. We can just, kind of like your telephone operator in the old days, you can just kind of plug and play. And then we've got the switch in there also. So these are switch locations in the city. You can see the big star there, that's where City Hall is, that's where our core server is. You can see we've got plenty of the communication cabinets there and also then down at the access layer, that's where the traffic signals and cameras are, it's our devices. And so here, this is showing that we're doing a direct connection from the core switch to the, each switch in the communication cabinet has a direct connection to the core switch. And it's all layer 3, 10 gigabit. This is also layer 3, 10 gigabit, just showing the distribution layer, the cabinets. So those switches also have a direct connection with each other, and it forms a mesh. Like I said, it's layer 3, also 10 gigabit. Then we put those two together, and that's our layer 3 redundancy there. So that's where most all of our redundancy is in the distribution layer. And then we get down to the access layer, and you can see that the way those cabinets are placed, the networks are each individual network. Each color there is a network, and they're placed right in between, exactly in between those communication cabinets. So there's a connection on each end. One connection to switch on one end and another connection on the other end. And this is all layer 2 connections. So you can see by placing those cabinets in those locations, we're able to minimize those collapse loops that I was talking about. And we put it all together. So if I would have shown you this slide to begin with, it might not have made as much sense as it does, hopefully it does now. But you know, it all works as a system. We've got the core layer, the distribution layer, that's layer 3, and then we've got the access layer in between. And that's our project. So I'll let Kim talk more.
Thanks, Bill. So essentially, we wanted to just achieve our goal of having the adequate bandwidth, having a system that is reliable, you know, additional redundancy, minimizing the downtime, minimizing the locations where we have them, and hopefully we can close that loop over with Gwinnett County, hint, hint, coming soon, so that we can have additional redundancy connecting through McGinnis-Berry down into Gwinnett County and onto State Bridge. And so, yes, with that, that's our project. And if you have any questions or anything like that, I don't know if we take it now or at the end, but thank you.
Just one quick question. It's right here. Which switches are the layer 2 switches especially? Are those managed by your IT or your staff internally?
We have Rashawn, who is he's our ITS person. He manages it all. And we have, in our TC, we also have monitoring software in there, so if anything goes down, then it'll tell us right away what's going on. Especially with the EIGRP in there, you don't really notice because it recovers so quickly. You don't even notice it went down. So the monitoring software tells us that it went down.
Couple of questions. One, are you 100% connectivity to all your traffic signals? And two, are you using all fiber, or do you have a mix of fiber and cellular?
Yeah, so we are, I've never been asked the percent question before, but we are probably 90% fiber, and then we also use cellular devices for the rest of the places where we don't have fiber. But eventually we will be 98% at least. Is that any other questions? Nope. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Johns Creek. Next, we're going to have some speakers from Gwinnett County. Also, thank you, Gwinnett County, for having us host here. So this has been a cool facility and just fun to be here. So thank you for that. So we have two speakers. We've got Kristin Phillips and Keena. Kristin Phillips is the Traffic Management Division Director with the Gwinnett County Department of Transportation. Kristin graduated from Michigan State University with a Bachelor of Civil Engineering and from Texas A&M with a Master's of Civil Engineering. After working on traffic signals in the private sector for 15 years, she joined Gwinnett County in 2018. Kristin oversees the traffic signal section, which is responsible for the maintenance and operation over 760 traffic signals, 300 miles of fiber, 500 cameras, and hundreds of other devices. Kristin is a registered professional engineer in Georgia and Michigan, previously served twice on the Board of ITS Directors, and is a member of the Georgia IT section. Kristin lives in Dunwoody with her two young girls, Addison and Britton. Keena is the manager for the Gwinnett County Traffic Control Center and is a key member of our Georgia ITS AV team. And with that, we'll pass it on to Kristin and Ken. Oh, Danny's also speaking. Sorry. Hey.
Thank you, Mary. All right, so today we're going to talk our agenda here. It's me speaking about who Gwinnett County is in our region, and then I've got Ken. He's going to talk about our Smart Corridor project overview and get into some of the weeds, and then we've got Danny Tongson. He is going to be speaking about the deployment and the current status of our Smart Corridor project. So a little bit about who we are in the region. We are the largest maintaining agency in the state behind the state. We've got about 8% of the signals in the state. It's about 763 signals that we have today. 95% of them are on communications, with the goal by the end of the year to have all of communications to all of our devices. We've got almost 300 miles of fiber. The rest of our signals are on cellular modems. We have almost 500 CCTV cameras, and we are up to 456 flashing beacons. As one of my main foremen said, Gwinnett County is going to be glowing and blinking all night long. So the reason we're here today is because we were the recipients of the 2023 ITS Large Project of Significance Award. This is for continued innovation of the Gwinnett County Smart Corridor program, featuring the turnkey implementation of connected vehicle safety applications throughout the Gwinnett County traffic signal system, and the installation of onboard units on county-owned emergency transit and maintenance vehicles. So a little bit on how this got started. There's two contracts, and the first one I'm going to talk about is what helped get the Smart Corridor project started. With GDOT, there's the Regional Connected Vehicle Program that we call RCV. This is for the deployment of CVTEX RSUs on traffic signals. Gwinnett County has about 385 of them that are currently installed through that. And the unique thing about this program is it also has radios programmed for SMAT and MAP messaging. This contract allowed for maintenance support of roadside units after the deployment, and it's important to note that this is concurrent to and in coordination with the Smart Corridor project. Next. All right, so part of the RCV project, there was also stakeholder participation. We have 5 CIDs that helped us meet the county match of 20%. This is Sugarloaf CID, Evermore, Gwinnett Place, Gateway 85, and Lilburn CID. This installed roadside units for traffic signals within and bordering the CIDs. And without these partnerships with the CIDs, we would not be able to have this much participation. The CIDs and cities also helped us get the word out to members of the community. And then the second contract is our Smart Corridor contract with GDOT. This contract allowed for installing onboard units, transit vehicle priority or emergency vehicle preemption and other safety applications. The benefit of this partnership is it was direct let through by GDOT on behalf of Gwinnett County. It is a federally funded project. It was through the best value RFP process, and through that process it was 70% technical and 30% cost. The unique thing about this, because it is a GDOT open agency contract, other agencies can use this contract with GDOT approval to have similar installation and services. It is a 3-year contract. I believe we are in year 3 right now of our first 3-year with 2 options to renew. And then I'm going to turn it over to Ken, and he's going to get a little more into the weeds of this project, of the Smart Corridor deployment.
Thank you, Kristin. All right, not too into the weeds. Some of you may be disappointed with that. Anyway, first of all, I want to thank the team. GDOT, obviously, couldn't have done it without them. They were the biggest player. They provided the funding and the contract. And then 360 Network Solutions was the one that got the contract, and they are the lead contractor. What I'd like to do now is recognize the team. So if you're from GDOT or from 360 NS, I see you guys, there's a bunch of you out there, please stand up. And from any of these other partners that 360 used, please stand up so we can recognize you. This award really goes to y'all to making this thing happen. All right, sit down. I'm kidding. We really do appreciate it. They're doing a great job. So the key elements Kristin already alluded to, mentioned, is to deploy the onboard units. What good are roadside units without onboard units, at least for our safety applications, right? And so that was the purpose of it, is to go beyond SPAT and deploy these applications that I'll hit on next, and also to manage the security. So you see we got the SPAT map, and then the EVP, I'll just touch on each of these, because you see there they got conditions. The emergency vehicle preemption is only active if the lights are on, and the emergency brake is off, because we did that for testing purposes. We have some fire stations that are right near a signal, and so if they were sitting there testing, we don't want it to preempt. So they put that trigger in there too. And then traffic signal priority, if the bus is 5 minutes behind schedule, then it'll trigger. And then the construction maintenance vehicle alert, currently that needs to go through a roadside unit, and then it puts out a safety message to any drivers, public drivers or whatever, that have a unit to receive that message. That there's construction in the area. And then the railroad intersection blocked alert, the way that works is it goes through the train preemption that goes to the traffic signal. So it's going from max view from max time to max time CV and through the system, and I'll talk about the architecture a little bit on the next slide. And then the push button works in a similar way, where if the PED button is pushed, or if it's in walk, max time, we'll send it out through max time CV and through the roadside unit to the broadcast it out. So a little bit about the architecture, not going to get into the details of the slide, but the point of the slide is that we don't have any additional hardware other than going from the onboard unit speaks to the roadside unit, which then speaks to the controller, well, through the network, but to the controller. There's no additional unit in the cabinet. Of course, the software components are key on those hardware components, like max time CV is a deliverer, and then CAPS also put a module on the roadside unit to help communicate. And then the vehicles also have a LTE router, a cradle point, that'll get the security and updates, firmware updates. Just a couple of the interfaces I wanted to touch on that we have access to now This is the CMCC, where we can check the status of our roadside units. And it gives a bunch of other data that we won't get into now, but you can do reports and stuff, not only on the vehicles, or not only on the units, but the vehicles that have contacted that unit, those units. And max time CV, of course. You see a snapshot there. You can see a couple of the vehicles going through, and you interface with it to program it. And then HOS alert, where we can see our emergency vehicles is what's being pushed to HOS alert right now. And it was kind of cool the other day. I saw it on the map and pulled it up on the camera. See that med unit is the same one that you're seeing there on the map. But that's the gist of it, and from here I'll let Danny Tongson give you the status of where we are on the deploying and what some of that deployment looked like.
All right, thank you, Ken.
You can drive.
Okay. So let's talk about the current status. So it's the initial deployment area. We're going to do this slide a little bit backwards. The goal was to have the total of 386 intersections to be completed at the end. Currently, the 72, which is the first deployment of these, are operational. We really wanted to focus on the fire stations, and you'll notice here in the pink line is one of the routes. This is for testing the EVP and the TSP applications. So here are the major components for these vehicles. You'll see here on the far left, within the med unit, looks like a little shoebox here. That's the OBU. Right next to it, you'll see a cellular device. That is our router. That's for that communication. The HMI, which if you look here in the fire truck slide here, it's literally just a tablet, but it comes in many forms. Here we also have on the far right, we have an antenna, and that obviously communicates with the RSUs. So some of the project challenges early on, you probably heard about it. So we had supply chain component shortages. It was really difficult to get this project moving without those parts. Vehicle availability. When you have med units constantly moving, when you have transit constantly moving, it's really difficult to get those parts into those vehicles. And then on top of that, you also had to work with the stakeholders being the transit folks, the EMS folks, fire folks, and trying to get all those parts vetted in the areas where they were supposed to be, and that's what we'll talk about in the next slide. And then finally, we had FCC licensing issues early on. So in case you didn't know, if you have a radio out in public, you need an FCC license applied to it, and that was really difficult. So this is the stakeholder engagement. This is where we had to talk to transit, we had to talk to fire, and anything related to the med unit, so we know exactly where the OBU would need to be placed, where the router would need to be placed, antenna, and HMI. You'll see here in the green on the far right, you see the OBU router and antenna. That was all vetted, green, wherever they installed it. And then if you look at the HMI and visibility and audibility, you'll see that this is where there were concerns about safety. We really didn't want to have distractions for any of the drivers, so HMI placement and audibility was key here. So the status for all the vehicles, currently we're at 48 transit vehicles and equipped with the CV2X OBUs and the cradle point. Along with that is the 14 microtransit vehicles, and an example of that would be right here to our left. We have 2 fire trucks equipped, we got 4 fire trucks equipped with the CVX OBUs, and then we still have a couple that have older technology that we're still testing with, but that eventually they'll have their own CV2X equipment. 34 fire department med units, just like the one here, as we have presented. And then we have 10 portable, which at the end of the meeting here you can take a look at. And then we're in discussion about the next 62 and where those are going to go. What's happening outside? Well, that would be GDOT, and eventually they'll have, this is currently in progress. What they will have is 58 hero vehicles, 58 EMS vehicles, and then eventually 40 transit vehicles as well. And that is it. Thank you very much.
A couple more things. One, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out a key Gwinnett player. Well, he was Gwinnett at the time that helped us with this project, and that was Tom Seaver. So yay, thank you, Tom. And, and also, we brought the vehicles in so you could do hands-on and just look at the installation, and Danny can point out where the different components are and get into more detail if you wanted on the reasoning behind the placement, and point out which are actually the components related to this project. So that's it. We could take some questions if you want. One question there.
Have you noticed any improvements in the bus routes, their timing with the use of it? Have you noticed any improvement in the bus timing with the use of the CV?
That's a great question. However, we're still in the testing phase, so we don't know what that's going to look like yet. As you saw on this slide, once it hits a threshold, and that threshold is still being discussed, what that will look like in the future. So hopefully, yes.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So with like the fire trucks and things like that, how much would it take to get to like the total fleet of the fire trucks in Gwinnett County? Do you have a sense of what that would be, and if that would be ever something that they would consider?
Yeah, that is the intent, is to go countywide with this. How many fire trucks we have remaining? I think they're 24 more fire trucks. They were slated in the original project, but in conversations with fire, we decided to prioritize the med units, and that's why not so many fire trucks got done. Yep. So, all right. Are there any other bingos? Are there any other bingos? Are there any other bingos? All right, we have a winner. Oh, go ahead, Yancey, hold on. Well, we're streaming. That one lone person watching the stream needs to hear you too.
You could have easily just repeated what I said, but I will just ask if public safety or PD have been considered, or what were the thoughts on bringing them aboard for a preemption?
Like PD?
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried to avoid that thought. So, no, I'll let Kristin handle that one.
Might be a better one for Tom, but they have showed some interest on that. But for right now, we are going to limit it to emergency vehicles, transit, and eventually our work zone vehicles.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming up to Gwinnett.
All right, thanks everyone for coming.